Hey everyone, it's Krista, and we're here in the shop at work. And I want to see if I can figure out how to point this up more. So that's the press. Um, so we've got these sleeves we had made for our flange wires project, and um, I've got a bunch of videos on how we go through those, or I go through those and make these fuel pump wires that go in the bottom of a fuel tank. So it's like a fuel pass through, so it can't leak. And then it's got 4 wires that can't touch each other. So when they fail, I cut the wires off and I end up with something like this. Well, what do I do to um, make something, what do I do to get these things kind of like ready to be used again? And I wish I could think better. I just can't. I don't know. My brain's a little off today. That's fine. So I I took a new one that we're out of now. I mean, obviously we had at least one left somewhere. And I was like, okay, so I've got a bad one and I've got a new one. And the first thing I did, how did I start? I think I had this chunk of scrap laying around somewhere. And I was like, well, that's really close. What? It just falls right in. Nice, right? So I did that, and then I got I looked for things on this diameter. It's like 0.380 or 390 or 3/8 of an inch. And I was kind of wandering around the shop finding things. And so I used a transfer punch and a sledgehammer, and I started to mushroom the end of the transfer punch. So I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't want to wreck my transfer punch. I don't know how good it is, like, to do that. And I know it wasn't ideal. Well, I'm like, well, I've got this thing figured out pretty well. Maybe we could try out the press and see how that goes. And so I don't know exactly the first setup, but it was like, a rung down, maybe 2. Very much not ideal. Um, in fact, oh, this isn't the bolt. This bolt is bigger. I had, I think, a metric bolt, probably 8 millimeter, and I tried to mash it through, and it worked. I was like, okay. And I'm like, well, this is kind of stupid because when you've got when you're on the wrong setting, you've got too much distance to make up between your part and the press itself, and it really gets tricky. Like, things start bending around, and even now my process probably could get improved, but it sort of works. So I found that a 3/8 bolt that I happen to have laying around fits perfectly. And then I was monkeying around with the spacers and things, and I need to put gloves on because, yeah, that's got some sharp edges, and I'll probably get a steel splinter, and I don't want that. Oh, hey. Hi, Nellie. Thanks for saying hi. And so, yeah, we don't want metal splinters. I'm kind of like okay to tear up my fingers a little bit, but splinters just annoy the F out of me. So I took a bolt and I took this piece of round, and I kept playing with it until I could get this thing to fit. And I just realized I could probably turn that over. So what I did at first was I just put this on the lathe and machined it flat on both ends, and I counterbored one end to get in here. And then I put this bolt in, and then it had a, so I parted it. Let me see if I can put it maybe. So I put the bolt in the lathe, and I initially parted it right where the first thread was, and then that taper would get caught in the junk inside the sleeve. So I was like, well, that's no good. And then I basically ended up cutting it back to where it was kind of like the perfect length. You know, it could probably be a little bit longer, but it's sort of the perfect length. And then on the other end, I machined it flat to take the grade. That's not grade 8. I think it's grade 5. To take the grade marks off because that makes it uneven. And then, so yeah, we've got our spacer, and kind of the next part was tricky. How can I show this? Maybe if I drag y'all out a little bit. All right, we're gonna scoot you out a little more, maybe. Okay. All right, now, crap to talk about. The press, we need to bring you down, point you up. Okay. So most folks have a hydraulic press and they have to use the handle, and that's okay for like bearings and stuff, but you get into production, you really need one with a pneumatic pump. And so each one of those pumps is like a whole stroke here. So it works a lot better. But when I had changed this out, I never really noticed that the springs weren't tight anymore, and this was probably a little bit shorter, so it wasn't returning all the way up. So when I would undo, it would stop about there. And so that's why I counterbored the piece of scrap stock that I had, so it would sink a little bit more and miss this, and I could get the bolt lined up. But now that I tighten the springs like almost all the way, it returns higher. Like you can see, it got another, I don't know, 1/8 or so of an inch. And so we take our piece, move my cart closer for me. And then when I was starting all this, I actually did wear eye protection. And then once I realized this process wasn't really launching things, I kind of quit caring. Let's get this a little bit to where you can see. All right. So I didn't even think to turn this over. You put in your part. And then I kind of discovered sometimes the wires stick up. So let's just bend them over. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was also using different sockets to go underneath this. Normally, sockets go to for when I need a spacer under this, under something. We're throwing everything away. And nothing would get it because they would start flipping out, and that's no good. That was why I was wearing eye protection because, when things start moving, you don't know if something might break or launch. And so, I'm kind of safety first until I'm really comfortable with things. As long as I'm, fairly certain it's safe, and I'm pretty sure this is fine. So, um, I don't hold it with my fingers. I just never trust that. And you saw it pop. If I was smart, I could probably come up with a stop, maybe a work stop that's adjustable to back it off to where it's just right. Also, I want to put a handle on that because this doesn't have notches. It didn't come with this. This actually did not come with its own stick. A lot of them do. Now, I'm not always afforded the luxury of this just coming out. Sometimes it gets caught up in the epoxy. So, anyone with a press knows you're always dropping stuff kind of all the time, and you can take advantage of that. So the junk that was inside, I just move over and it falls. I flip it over, I pull out the sleeve, and I put it in the box with the rest of them. Now let me see if I can get one that's a example of when it goes wrong. So here's one I think I was beating on. I didn't get it quite right. So the ones that have white on the back instead of black, so you can see this one has black, that one has white. The ones with white tend to stick to my drift. I guess you could call it a drift. Oops, real one, not fake one. Oh, this one goes in far enough. I'm gonna go ahead and hold it with my hand. Oh, I'll be out in a sec. Is that food? Food's here? Okay, I'll be done. So that's, I don't need to push it all the way down. I know it popped. In fact, we'll go ahead and demonstrate real quick. So right now we haven't done anything angry. So like pretty much everything's more or less loose. Now, let me hold this still. Now watch how everything shifts a little bit when I get a couple pops in with it loaded. So right there you could tell kind of big difference. You went a bit far. Anyhow, I just kind of wanted to just work through, like, when I came up with this process, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I should make a video because I haven't made any videos. And um, this is some more of the random stuff I come up with at work to get things done. And with this, we're able to save pretty good money. I mean, we got these at a killer deal. I don't know if we could still get that killer deal. And that machinist is really busy. Like the last time we wanted something, not this, but something else. It took a while. So we've got like, I don't know, 100 of these things. So we're going to just reuse them. And then I'll probably go touch them in here with the lathe a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. Anyhow, that's kind of the latest fun little thing. And, it's like, I'm a little bit blessed to say, oh, yeah, I just threw this on the lathe. Not everyone's got a lathe to just throw this on the lathe. And that's part of what, like, I spent a little bit of money on a smallish 1236 cheapy lathe. I'll show it to you. And, every now and then I just oh, I want to do something round on it. And I just whip this thing out real quick, and it's so handy to have to just do random stupid little projects. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.